new Wall Street Journal poll shows what people care about in America is changing dramatically. Patriotism, a belief in God, and having children all rate far lower in importance than they did just 20 years ago, as you can see on that graphic. Religion, for example, at 30%. It was at 67% for people in the age range 55 to 91 when they did this 20 years ago. So when you look at this, you have to ask yourself, what do those numbers mean for the future of America? Because it could look very different. Joining me now, Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of DailyWire.com and author of The Right Side of History. Ben, great to have you here tonight. What do those numbers say to you?
Well, they say a lot of the common social institutions and philosophies around which the country was formed and has continued to progress are dissolving. I mean, if you get rid of patriotism and innate belief that the country and the principles upon which it was founded are wonderful, you get rid of religion, which is the main social institution that has been upholding a free society for the last couple of hundred years here in the United States, and then you get rid of even a care for the future, meaning people don't care about parenting or having children as much. The question becomes, what exactly are the ties that are supposed to bind us together other than watching the Super Bowl once a year together?
Yeah, good question. Let's break down each one of them. When you look at patriotism, what do you attribute the decline in that to?
Well, I think there have been two stories about American history that have been told in America. One is that America was founded on eternally good, true, and wonderful principles. We have not always lived up to those principles, but the story of America is an attempt to fulfill those great principles and is essentially a story of triumph over both the odds and over our inner demons as well. That's story number one. Story number two is that America was rooted fundamentally in evil, slavery, sexism, racism, bigotry, homophobia, and that all of our institutions are rife with these things. So why would you be patriotic about institutions that are so thoroughly corrupt? It seems like that latter narrative is winning the day these days, and that's what you're seeing with younger folks.
Yeah, that's the Beto O'Rourke campaign, it sounds like, that you just encapsulated. Well, let's talk about religion for a moment here, because it seems to me, you know, I remember the me generation, which people thought was sort of a passing phase, but it seems to become a way of life now. And when me is at the center of everything, I don't think that you need to go out of yourself and ask, you know, God to save your soul or anything along those lines. So I don't see how you put that genie back in the bottle unless people are ultimately dissatisfied with that life.
I think that's right. I mean, religion is about fulfilling duty to other people, fulfilling duty to God, duties that lie beyond you. The same poll shows that a disproportionate share of younger people see self-fulfillment as a top goal. Well, those two are in direct conflict. Right. I think that people eventually are going to find that the hedonistic, self-fulfilling attempt to please yourself, your subjective perceptions, is not going to be as fulfilling. They are going to look for something beyond themselves. In fact, I think they're hungry for that now. It's leading to a lot of depression and upset, I think.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Let's put up that top values considered most important that Ben was just referring to. Hard work is the only thing that continues to rate very high over the course of the years that they've been looking at this. Tolerance for others. We talk a lot in society about tolerance and the importance of being tolerant of other people's lifestyles and all of that. That's a very high value. Particularly for young people. Is it necessarily a value that you think is a virtue worth striving for?
Well, I mean, I think that if by tolerating other people we mean tolerating people in a free society doing what they're doing so long as they don't hurt others, of course that's something we should be striving for. But I think young people don't actually mean that when they say tolerance. I don't think a lot of young folks mean I'm going to tolerate viewpoints I don't like. I think what they mean is that if you judge me in any way, you're being intolerant, because I'm not judging you, except if you're judgmental, in which case I judge you and I'm intolerant. So tolerance itself is not a value. Tolerance is of value. It's a strategy to use when you're talking about what exactly is acceptable behavior in a free society. And it seems that young people are espousing a strategy above an actual value.
Yeah. Before I let you go, the last one, having children, I think is kind of linked to the other one. It's linked to everything being me-centered. Having kids, you know, it's a sacrifice in some ways. It's a joy, an enormous joy, but you have to give of yourself to someone else.
It's expensive, it's difficult, it's a giant pain in the ass. It is the most fulfilling thing that you will ever do. But why would you exactly walk through those thorns in order to get to the occasional rose? It's very difficult. And the fact is that you have to be committed to something beyond yourself before you have kids, or there's really no purpose to having kids in the first place.
Ben Shapiro, thank you very much, Ben. Good to see you tonight.
Hey, thanks.